I arrived in San Francisco without warning and discovered that my daughter was dying in the hospital. Meanwhile, her husband was having fun at a birthday party, surrounded by laughter and champagne. So, I burst into the party and said to him, "I have bad news for you." He asked, "What is it?" I replied. "You'll find out in an hour." He found out and lost his mind. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening in the comments. The key wouldn't turn. I twisted it harder, feeling the metal scrape against something that shouldn't be there. My fingers ached from gripping too tight, and sweat beaded on my forehead despite the cool spring air drifting through the hallway window. This wasn't right. Lily gave me this key 3 years ago, insisted I keep it just in case. I'd used it before, last Thanksgiving when she was running late from work, and that time she had the flu. It always worked. I pulled the key out and examined it under the flickering fluorescent light. Same brass color, same worn edges where I'd filed it smooth, same little scratch near the head from when I dropped it in my toolbox. Definitely my key. I tried again, slower this time. The key slid in but hit something solid before reaching full depth. Someone had changed the lock. "Lily." My voice echoed in the empty corridor. I knocked. Soft taps at first, then harder. "Honey, it's Dad. I'm here for my visit." Nothing. Not even the shuffle of footsteps or creak of floorboards. I pressed my ear to the door, listening past my own heartbeat. Television sounds drifted from neighboring apartments, muffled conversations, a dog barking somewhere below. But from 3A Lily's place, silence. The doorbell. I jabbed it 3 times, hearing the shrill electronic chime echo inside. Still nothing. My phone felt heavy in my coat pocket. The flight from Arizona had drained me more than usual. Too many delays, too much coffee, too many worried thoughts about why Lily hadn't returned my calls this week. Now. Her voicemail picked up immediately. "Hi, you've reached Lily Remington. I can't take your call right now, but leave a message and I'll get back to you soon." That cheerful voice, so much like her mother's. "Lily, Dad, I'm outside your door, but the key isn't working. Did you change the locks? Call me back. Honey, I'm getting worried." I tried Ethan next. 1 ring, then his generic voicemail. "You've reached Ethan Blackwell. Leave your name and number." "Ethan, this is Micah. I'm at the apartment, but I can't get in. Where's Lily? Call me back immediately." The hallway felt smaller now, pressing in on me. Cooking smells, garlic, and something fried wafted from under doors. A television laugh track burst from apartment 3. See normal Friday afternoon sounds, but they felt wrong against my growing panic. I walked to the window at the end of the hall. Looking down at the Oakland street I traveled 4 hours to reach. Cars crawled past in afternoon traffic. People hurried along sidewalks, carrying grocery bags and coffee cups, living their normal lives, while mine tilted sideways. This isn't like Lily. She always answers, always calls back within an hour, even when she's busy with clients or fighting with Ethan. She makes time for her old man. That's who she is. Responsible, considerate. She gets that from her mother. I tried Lily's number again. Same cheerful message, same electronic beep. "Honey, it's Dad again. Something's wrong with the lock. I'm really starting to worry. Please call me." Maybe I should have called first instead of surprising her, but she loved surprises. Always had since she was little. Remember the time I drove 7 hours to her college just to take her to dinner? She cried happy tears right there in the restaurant. No. This was different. This was wrong. I leaned against her door, feeling the solid wood against my shoulder. My travel bag seemed heavier now, pulling at muscles already tired from the journey. The fluorescent light above buzzed and flickered, casting shifting shadows on the worn carpet. Ethan's phone went straight to voicemail this time. Not ringing at all. Just that automated message about leaving your name and number. He'd turned it off. Why would someone change the locks without telling family? Why wouldn't Lily answer phone for 1 month? Why would Ethan shut off his phone when I needed to reach them? The questions circled in my head like vultures. Each one brought worse possibilities. Accidents, illness, problems they couldn't handle alone, problems they should have told me about. I tried Lily one more time. The subscriber you are calling is not available. Not her voicemail this time. A recorded message from the phone company. Her phone was off too. Footsteps echoed from the stairwell. Someone climbing the concrete steps. Keys jangling with each stride. Maybe building maintenance. Someone who could explain about the locks. Or maybe it was Lily finally coming home to explain everything. I turned toward the stairwell, hope and dread wrestling in my chest as the footsteps grew closer. A man appeared at the top of the stairs, slightly out of breath, carrying a black garbage bag in one hand and keys in the other. Mid-50s, wearing faded jeans and a Giants t-shirt that had seen better days. He stopped when he saw me standing by Lily's door, his eyebrows raising in mild surprise. "You looking for someone?" He shifted the garbage bag to his other hand, keys jangling softly. "My daughter, Lily Remington. She lives here." I gestured at 3A. "I'm her father. Micah Remington. Your daughter." He set the garbage bag down and looked at me with genuine confusion. "I didn't know Lily family visiting. I'm George Patterson. 3B. He pointed at the door next to Lily's. "She doesn't know I'm coming. It was supposed to be a surprise." The words felt hollow now. "But I can't get in. The lock's been changed." George scratched his jaw, studying me with the careful attention of someone who'd spent years reading people. "Changed, huh? When's the last time you talked to your daughter? 1 month ago? Maybe longer." The admission stung. "I've been calling, but she's not answering. Her husband isn't either. Haven't seen her around here for..." George paused, calculating. "Must be 1 month now. Maybe longer." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean you haven't seen her just that? Used to see her coming and going. Work, groceries, that sort of thing. Nice lady. Always said hello. But lately," he shook his head. "Nothing." "But Ethan's been here." "Right, her husband." George's expression shifted, becoming uncomfortable. He picked up his garbage bag again, avoiding my eyes. "Well, yeah. I see him plenty." "Good. Then maybe he can explain. Different woman every few days." Though, the words hit me like cold water. "What? Your son-in-law?" Ethan George looked directly at me now, his voice gentler. "He's been bringing women around. Young ones. Real fancy looking. Figured maybe your daughter moved out. And he was... well, you know." I stepped back, my shoulder hitting the wall. There must be some mistake. "I wish there was." George shifted uncomfortably. "Look, I don't like to gossip, but I've been living here 7 years. I know what I see." "What exactly do you see different woman Tuesday night? Blonde, wearing one of those expensive coats. Wednesday. It was a redhead in a short dress. Too short for this weather, if you ask me. Yesterday, some brunette with jewelry that caught the light from here to Sunday." My hands clenched into fists. "Are you sure it's Ethan, same guy? Same key to the apartment." Laughing loud in the hallway, Music playing late. Not like when your daughter was around. She was quiet, respectful. The hallway started spinning slightly. I pressed my palm against the wall to steady myself. How long has this been going on? 1 month. Maybe longer. Right around the time I stopped seeing Lily, George's voice carried the weight of someone delivering bad news. I kept thinking I should mind my own business. But if you're her father, I need to find her. Any idea where she might have gone? I shook my head. My mind was racing, trying to process what George had told me. Ethan, my son-in-law of 6 years, bringing other women to Lily's apartment. Different women. Multiple women. While my daughter was where? Look, George said, hefting his garbage bag again. I've got to get this downstairs before pickup. But if you need anything, another pair of eyes, someone to ask around the neighborhood, I'm usually home. Thank you. My voice sounded distant, even to me. George started down the stairs, then paused. Your daughter. She seemed happy when I saw her, always smiling, talking about her work. Whatever happened, it wasn't because she was unhappy here. His footsteps faded down the stairwell, leaving me alone with crushing new information. Ethan wasn't just unreachable. He was actively betraying my daughter. But where was Lily if she'd left voluntarily? She would have told me. She would have taken her things, changed her phone number properly, given me some explanation. Unless she couldn't. I looked at Lily's door again, seeing it differently now. Not just changed locks, but a barrier, something keeping me out, keeping me from the truth about what happened to my little girl. My phone felt like a brick in my pocket. Ethan's number. Lily's number. Neither would help now. But there had to be another way. There had to be some method of finding her that didn't depend on her husband's honesty or cooperation. Think. Micah, what tools do you have that they can't control? My legs felt unsteady as I followed George's path down the stairs. The concrete steps seemed steeper now, the metal railing colder under my palm. I needed air, space to think, somewhere away from that door and its terrible implications, outside. The afternoon had grown cooler. Overcast sky pressed down on the Oakland street, matching my mood. I found a small concrete bench near the building entrance and dropped onto it. My travel bag hitting the pavement with a dull thud. Different women every few days. The phrase kept echoing in my head while Lily was gone. Missing. Vanished without a trace or explanation. I pulled out my phone, squinting at the small screen. These new smartphones. Lily insisted I upgrade from my old flip phone during her last visit to Arizona. Dad, what if something happens to one of us? What if we need to find each other? I'd protested. I don't need to track you like some criminal. Honey, it's not tracking. It's safety. Just download this app. Find my family. Please. She'd given me those eyes. The same ones she'd used to convince me to let her get a puppy when she was 12. So, I'd relented, watching her tap and swipe through settings I didn't understand, entering passwords and permissions. She'd shown me how to use it once, but that was 9 months ago. Now trying to remember which icon among dozens might be the right one. I felt every one of my 62 years, my reading glasses. I dug through my travel bag, pushing aside folded shirts and medication bottles until I found the case. The world sharpened into focus, revealing app icons I'd forgotten existed. Games Lily had installed for when you're bored. News apps, weather, camera. Where was it? Find my family. Had it been blue, green? They all looked the same to me. There, a small icon with 2 figures and a location pin. I tapped it, my thick fingers clumsy on the smooth screen. Loading circle spinning endlessly. Come on. Password required. I tried my birthday. Then Lily, then my late wife's maiden name. Invalid. 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 What did I used think? Micah. Of course. My birthday plus the year she graduated high school. She'd made me write it down. The phone accepted it, and suddenly a map filled the screen. Red dots appeared one by one. My location showed as a pulsing blue circle in Oakland. Another dot appeared farther north. That must be Lily, but it wasn't at her apartment. The red dot sat firmly in San Francisco in a cluster of large buildings I didn't recognize. I tapped on it, and text appeared. Lily's iPhone. UCSF Medical Center. Hospital. The phone nearly slipped from my hands. I gripped it tighter, staring at those words until they burned into my vision. UCSF Medical Center. My daughter was in a hospital, and I didn't know why. Didn't know how long she'd been there. Didn't even know if she was. I stood up abruptly, my travel bag tumbling to the sidewalk. Hospital. That explained everything. The unreturned calls, the absence from her apartment, even why Ethan might have changed the locks. But it explained nothing about the women George had seen. Unless Ethan thought I wouldn't find out. Unless he was using Lily's illness. And it had to be illness. What else would keep her in a hospital for weeks as an opportunity to? My hands shook as I bent to retrieve my bag. The busy street seemed louder now, car horns and sirens blending into urban chaos that matched the noise in my head. I had to get to her. Had to see with my own eyes what was happening to my daughter. A yellow taxi crawled past in traffic. I stepped into the street, waving my arm frantically. It didn't stop. Another one passed. Occupied. A third didn't even slow down. Please, I said to no one, stepping farther into traffic. Please stop. A taxi finally pulled over, brakes squealing slightly. The driver, a woman in her 50s with tired eyes, rolled down her window. Where? To UCSF Medical Center. I climbed into the back seat, immediately hit by the smell of leather and air freshener. Please hurry. Emergency. My daughter. The words came out strangled. I think I need to see my daughter. She nodded and pulled back into traffic. Through the window, Oakland blurred past. Apartment buildings, storefronts, people living normal Friday afternoons. While my world cracked apart. The app was still open on my phone. That red dot steady and unmoving at UCSF. How long had Lily been there? What was wrong with her that required weeks of hospitalization? And why hadn't anyone told me unless Ethan had told the hospital he was handling family notifications? Unless he deliberately kept me in the dark while he brought other women to her apartment, used her absence for his own purposes. The taxi accelerated through a yellow light, carrying me toward answers I wasn't sure I wanted to hear. Traffic moved like molasses through San Francisco's arteries. I sat in the back seat of the taxi, gripping my phone so tightly that my knuckles went white. The red dot on my screen hadn't moved. Lily was still at UCSF, still in that hospital, still needing me while I crawled through Friday afternoon gridlock. Construction on the bridge, the driver explained, catching my eye in the rearview mirror. She was maybe 50, with kind eyes and worry lines that suggested she'd seen plenty of distressed passengers. I can take the alternate route, might be faster. Whatever gets me there quickest. UCSF Medical Center. The name kept cycling through my mind like a broken record. Why was my daughter in a hospital? How long had she been there? The tracking app showed her location, but it couldn't tell me if she was visiting someone else, getting routine tests, or no. I pushed away the darker possibilities. Lily was young, healthy. She jogged in Golden Gate Park, ate organic vegetables, took those vitamin supplements her mother used to mock. She couldn't be seriously ill. But George's words echoed. Haven't seen her around here for 1 month. 1 month in a hospital wasn't routine anything. I tried calling her again. Same automated message. Subscriber not available. Her phone was either dead or turned off. Ethan's number went straight to voicemail again. The man was deliberately avoiding me. My own phone battery dropped to 23%. I'd been checking the GPS obsessively, watching our slow progress through the city. At this rate, it would take another 25 minutes to reach the hospital. The taxi lurched forward through an intersection, then stopped again behind a line of brake lights. An ambulance wailed past us, its red and blue lights painting the inside of our car in urgent colors. My chest tightened, watching it disappear toward the same medical district where my daughter waited. 4 years ago, I'd made the same kind of desperate journey, different hospital, different city, but the same crushing fear in my chest. Sophia had been in stage 4 when we finally got the diagnosis. Pancreatic cancer. The doctor had said with that practiced sympathy they teach in medical school. We'd caught it too late. I'd held her hand through chemotherapy sessions, radiation treatments, and finally hospice care. I'd promised her I'd take care of Lily, protect our daughter from the kind of pain we were experiencing. Now here I was, racing through traffic, because I might be failing that promise. Family emergency, the driver asked gently. My daughter. The words came out hoarse. She's in the hospital, and I didn't know. These things happen fast sometimes. She accelerated through a yellow light, gaining precious seconds. My sister was diagnosed with diabetes last year. Nobody knew until she collapsed at work. Sometimes people hide things to protect the ones they love. That sounded like Lily. She'd hidden her college financial struggles until she was 4 months behind on rent. She'd hidden her early relationship problems with Ethan until after they were married. She always tried to handle everything herself, just like her mother. The San Francisco skyline shifted around us as we navigated through side streets. Medical buildings began appearing more frequently. Urgent care centers, specialist offices, pharmacy chains. We were entering the hospital district. My phone rang and I nearly dropped it in my haste to answer. Unknown number. Hello, Lily. Wrong number. Sorry. I closed my eyes and leaned back against the worn leather seat. Every ring, every notification made my heart race with hope and terror in equal measure. She's going to be okay, the driver said firmly. Whatever's wrong, having family there makes all the difference. You're doing the right thing. Through the window, I could see the massive complex of UCSF Medical Center approaching. Glass towers filled with windows that looked down on thousands of personal tragedies and miracles every day. Somewhere in that maze of rooms and corridors, my daughter was waiting without knowing I was coming. The taxi pulled up to the main entrance, joining a line of vehicles, dropping off patients and visitors. People moved in and out of the sliding glass doors, some hurrying, some walking slowly, all carrying their own stories of worry and hope. 32.75, the driver said. But when I handed her $50, she shook her head. Keep the change, honey. Go find your daughter. I grabbed my travel bag and stepped onto the sidewalk, looking up at the imposing medical complex. My phone showed 3:40 p.m. Wherever Lily was in that building, I was about to find out why she'd been hiding there for 1 month. The automatic doors opened with a soft whoosh, welcoming me into whatever truth waited inside. The lobby overwhelmed my senses immediately. Marble floors that echoed every footstep, the sharp bite of disinfectant in the air, and fluorescent lighting that made everyone look pale and anxious. Information desks stretched across the far wall, staffed by people in scrubs who looked like they'd been answering worried questions all day. I approached the nearest desk, my travel bag suddenly feeling heavier with each step. I'm looking for my daughter, Lily Remington. I believe she's a patient here. The woman behind the desk, maybe 35 with tired eyes, started typing. Are you on her emergency contact list? Sir, I'm her father, Micah Remington. More typing, a pause. Then her expression shifted to something like relief. Room 314, third floor. Take the elevators to your right. I'll call up and let them know you're coming. Room 314, third floor. The numbers felt heavy in my mind as I walked toward the elevator bank. Other visitors waited alongside me. A woman clutching a bouquet of flowers, an elderly man with a walker, a young couple holding hands so tightly their knuckles showed white. The elevator climbed slowly, floor numbers lighting up one by one. Second floor, general medicine, third floor, my destination. The doors opened with a soft ding. The third floor felt different from the bustling lobby. Quieter, more serious. A sign on the wall read Oncology Unit with an arrow pointing down a corridor lined with rooms. Oncology cancer. My legs nearly gave out. I grabbed the wall for support, my travel bag sliding to the floor. Cancer. That's why Lily was here. That's why she hadn't been returning calls. That's why Ethan had been bringing other women to her apartment while she fought for her life in this sterile hallway. Sir, are you all right? A woman in a white coat had appeared beside me. Mid-50s kind face with intelligent eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Her name badge read, Dr. Anna Thompson, Oncology. I'm looking for my daughter, Lily Remington, room 314. You must be Mr. Remington. Her voice carried the gentle authority of someone used to delivering difficult news. I'm Dr. Thompson, oncologist. Could we talk privately for a moment? She led me to a small consultation room just down the hall. Plain furniture, a box of tissues on the table, medical diplomas on the walls, the kind of room designed for conversations nobody wanted to have. How much do you know about your daughter's condition, doctor? Thompson asked as we sat down. Nothing. The word came out like a confession. I just found out she was in the hospital. What's wrong with her? Doctor. Thompson opened a medical file, her movements careful and deliberate. Lily was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer 8 weeks ago. Stage 4, which means it has metastasized to other organs. She's been hospitalized for 3 weeks now for pain management and palliative care. The room tilted sideways. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4, the same disease that killed Sophia. The same words I'd heard 4 years ago, delivered with the same professional compassion. That can't be right. My voice sounded distant, like it was coming from someone else. She's only 38. She's healthy. She exercises. Cancer doesn't discriminate based on age or lifestyle. Mr. Remington, I'm sorry. What's the prognosis? I already knew. But I had to ask. With aggressive treatment, we might extend her life by several months. Without treatment, she paused, choosing her words carefully. Weeks to months, depending on how she responds to pain management. The room was spinning now. I gripped the arms of my chair, trying to anchor myself to something solid. Why wasn't I contacted? I'm her father. I should have been told immediately. The emergency contact information we have on file is for her husband, Ethan Blackwell. We've made multiple attempts to reach him, but haven't received any response. Of course. Ethan knew. Ethan had known for 8 weeks that his wife was dying, and instead of calling her family, instead of being here to support her, he'd been parading other women through her apartment like she was already gone. Where is he now? My voice came out rougher than I intended. I can't discuss other family members' personal information, but I can tell you that Lily has been essentially alone throughout this ordeal. The nursing staff has been very concerned about her lack of family support. Alone. My daughter had been facing the same disease that killed her mother in the same kind of sterile hospital room, and she'd been doing it alone because her husband was a coward, and her father was too trusting to check on her more often. Can I see her? Of course. But Mr. Remington, Doctor. Thompson leaned forward slightly. The physical changes can be startling. The cancer has progressed rapidly, and the treatments, even palliative ones, take a toll. She's much thinner than she was 8 weeks ago, and she tires easily. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Sophia had gone through the same transformation. My vibrant, beautiful wife gradually disappearing before my eyes until only her spirit remained. Fierce and loving until the very end. She doesn't know you're coming. Does she know? This was supposed to be a surprise visit. Doctor. Thompson stood up, closing the medical file. She's been asking about you, wondering why you haven't called. She made me promise not to contact you because she didn't want you to worry after losing your wife to cancer. The guilt hit me like a physical blow while I'd been going about my normal life in Arizona, reading the newspaper, working in my garden, watching television. My daughter had been protecting me from the truth, even as she fought for her life. Room 314 is just down the hall. Doctor, Thompson said softly. Would you like me to come with you, Doctor? Thompson knocked gently on the door of room 314. Lily, you have a visitor. I'm not really up for visitors today, came a voice from inside. Weaker than I remembered, but unmistakably my daughter. I think you'll want to see this one, the doctor said, opening the door slightly. Your father is here. Silence. Then a sharp intake of breath. I stepped into the room, and the sight nearly broke me. Lily sat propped up in the hospital bed, her once full face now gaunt, her dark hair thin and brittle from treatments. IV lines snaked from her arms to machines that beeped softly in the background. But her eyes, Sophia's eyes, were still bright and alert. Dad! Her voice cracked with disbelief. How did you... What are you doing here surprising my daughter? I managed, though my voice wasn't much steadier than hers. That was the plan anyway. She tried to sit up straighter, wincing slightly at the movement. You can't be here. I mean, it's wonderful that you're here, but you weren't supposed to find out like this. I set my travel bag down and crossed to her bedside. The afternoon light from the window made the medical equipment seem less intimidating, but it couldn't hide how small she looked in the hospital bed. Doctor, Thompson tells me you've been here for 3 weeks. It's not as bad as it looks, she said quickly, the same tone she'd used as a child when trying to convince me a scraped knee didn't hurt. They're just managing my pain levels, making sure I'm comfortable. I reached out and touched her cheek gently. Her skin felt paper thin, hot from fever or medication. Honey, why didn't you tell me? Tears started forming in her eyes. Because I watched what Mom's cancer did to you. I saw how it destroyed you to watch her suffer. I couldn't put you through that again. That wasn't your choice to make. I pulled the visitor's chair closer to her bed and sat down heavily. I'm your father. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. But you just lost Mom 4 years ago. You're finally starting to seem like yourself again. I didn't want to stop. I took her hand carefully, mindful of the IV port. I lost your mother. Yes, but you're my daughter. You're all I have left of her. All I have left of the life we built together. Did you really think I'd want to spend whatever time we have left apart? She squeezed my hand weakly. I was scared you'd try to take over, make all the medical decisions, turn it into some kind of battle like you did with Mom. The words stung because they held truth. I had fought Sophia's cancer like it was a problem I could solve through sheer determination and research. I dragged her to specialist after specialist, pushed for experimental treatments, refused to accept the inevitable until the very end. I learned some things from that experience. I said quietly, "This is your fight, your choices. I'm just here to support whatever decisions you make." Really? She studied my face, searching for the stubborn man who'd once argued with oncologists and demanded second opinions. Really? But I am going to ask one question, and I want an honest answer. She nodded. Where is your husband? Her expression shifted, pain flickering across her features that had nothing to do with cancer. Ethan. He's having a hard time with all this. What does that mean? When we got the diagnosis, he said he needed some space to process it. He's been staying at his brother's place in Marin. She looked away from me, focusing on the IV drip bag. He says he'll come back when he's ready to handle this, ready to handle watching his wife die, ready to handle being a husband when it became difficult. My hands clenched into fists in my lap. How long since you've seen him? 3 weeks since I was admitted. Her voice got smaller. He calls sometimes, asks how I'm feeling, tells me about his work stress. But he hasn't visited. I thought about George's revelation. Different women every few days laughing in the hallway. Music playing late. While Lily lay alone in this hospital bed, believing her husband was grieving at his brother's house. Ethan was using her apartment as his personal entertainment center. Dad, you have that look. What look? The same one you got when Mom's insurance company tried to deny coverage for her treatments. Like you're planning something. I forced my expression to relax. I'm just thinking about logistics. How long do the doctors expect you to be here? Probably another week. Maybe 2. Depends on how well they can manage the pain with oral medications. And then what? You can't go back to that apartment alone. I'll be okay. Ethan says he'll be ready to come back by then. I doubted that very much. Ethan had shown his true character when his wife needed him most. But I couldn't tell Lily about the women George had seen. Not while she was fighting for her life. Not while she still held on to hope that her marriage meant something. What if you came home with me? Arizona isn't that far. And you could have your old room back. I could take care of you properly. Dad, your house has stairs to every bedroom, and the nearest hospital is 50 minutes away. She smiled sadly. I need to be close to my medical team. A nurse appeared in the doorway, checking her watch. I'm sorry, but we need to do some blood work and medication adjustments. Could you give us about 30 minutes? I looked at Lily, reluctant to leave her alone again. Go get some coffee, she said. There's a decent cafeteria on the first floor. Come back in an hour and we can figure out where you're staying. How long you can visit. I stood up slowly, my back protesting from the emotional weight of the last few hours. I'm not going anywhere. Honey, I'm staying in the city as long as you need me. Promise, promise. I leaned down and kissed her forehead. Your old man isn't running away when things get tough. As I gathered my travel bag and headed for the door, I was already making different promises in my mind. Promises about Ethan Blackwell and what happened to men who abandoned their wives. When life became difficult, the medical team filed into Lily's room with practice deficiency, wheeling equipment I didn't recognize. Doctor? Thompson gave me a gentle but firm look, the kind that said family members needed to step aside and let professionals work. We'll need about an hour for the procedures, she explained quietly. There's a family waiting area down the hall, or you could grab coffee in the cafeteria. I nodded and gathered my travel bag, but every instinct screamed against leaving Lily alone. She'd been abandoned by the one person who'd promised to stay by her side in sickness and health. I wouldn't add to that betrayal, not even temporarily. I'll be right outside, I told her through the closing door, walking down the oncology corridor. I pulled out my phone and dialed Ethan's number again. Straight to voicemail, just like the previous 4 attempts. This time, I left a different kind of message. Ethan, this is Micah. I'm at UCSF with your wife. She's been here 3 weeks fighting cancer while you... Well, I know where you've been. Call me back. 20 seconds later. I tried again from the hospital's main line, thinking maybe he'd blocked my number. Still no answer. But this time, the phone rang once before cutting to voicemail. He was screening calls. My hands weren't shaking anymore. The initial shock of Lily's condition had crystallized into something colder, more focused. 40 years of engineering had taught me to approach problems systematically, and Ethan Blackwell had become a problem requiring a solution. I remembered Ryan Caldwell's number from my phone contacts, an old friend from my consulting days who'd moved into private investigations after retiring from corporate security. I hadn't spoken to Ryan in months, but some friendships survive long gaps. Micah, this is unexpected. How are you holding up? Not well. Ryan, I need a favor, and I need it quietly. A pause. Ryan had always been good at reading between lines. What kind of favor? Information gathering. I'll pay your usual rate. You know, money isn't an issue between us. What's going on? I explained about Lily's condition, Ethan's abandonment, the change locks, George's revelations about other women. Ryan listened without interrupting. Another reason I'd always respected him. Where is he now? Ryan asked when I finished. That's what I need to find out soon. I can make some calls, run some traces. Give me an hour, thanks. Ryan, and Ryan, this stays between us for now. After hanging up, I found myself in the family waiting area, surrounded by other people dealing with medical crisis. The difference was obvious. They had support systems, spouses holding hands, adult children taking turns at bedsides, friends bringing coffee and flowers, Lily, me finally, and a husband who couldn't be bothered to answer his phone. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Happy birthday to me. Bayview Rooftop Lounge is amazing. Wrong number. Probably. But something nagged at me. I opened my Instagram through her old account she'd set up on my phone months ago. Another technology lesson I'd initially resisted. Social media felt invasive, but now it might be useful. Ethan's profile appeared in her followers list. His latest stories were posted 30 minutes ago. Champagne glasses clinking, a rooftop view of San Francisco, a group of people laughing around a decorated table. The location tag read, Bayview Rooftop Lounge downtown. Birthday celebration. While his wife underwent cancer treatment, Ethan was throwing himself a party. I screenshot everything, my engineer's mind automatically documenting evidence, the timestamps, the locations, the faces of people who clearly weren't mourning anyone's illness. Young women in cocktail dresses, men in expensive suits, everyone looking like they were having the time of their lives. Ryan called back sooner than expected. Found him. Your son-in-law's credit card activity shows charges at Bayview Rooftop Lounge starting at $400. High-end rooftop bar in downtown. Expensive place. He's dropped over $4,000 tonight. $4,000. While Lily worried about insurance copays and prescription costs. Micah, what are you planning? Because your voice has that tone Sophia used to worry about. The one that meant you were about to do something irreversible. Sophia. She'd have known exactly what I was thinking right now. She'd also have tried to talk me out of it. Then helped me plan it properly when she realized my mind was made up. I'm going to have a conversation with Ethan at a party in public. That could get messy fast. Good. Messy means witnesses. Messy means consequences. Micah. He abandoned his dying wife to throw himself a birthday party. Ryan with other women using money that should go toward her medical bills. What kind of conversation do you think that deserves? A long pause. The kind where you need backup just in case. I can be there in 40 minutes. No. This is between me and him. But thanks. Then at least promise me you won't do anything that lands you in jail. Lily needs her father, not her father's lawyer. He was right about that. Whatever I did had to be calculated, controlled. Justice, not revenge. Though the line between them felt increasingly thin. I checked the time. 6:30 p.m. The medical procedures would finish by 7:30, giving me time for one quick trip to downtown and back. Bayview Rooftop Lounge was 25 minutes by subway from the hospital. Standing up from the waiting area chair, I felt different than I had an hour ago. The grief was still there, the fear for Lily's future, the anger at the unfairness of it all. But underneath those emotions was something harder and more useful. Purpose. Ethan thought he could abandon his responsibilities while his wife fought for her life. He was about to learn differently. The subway ride to downtown gave me time to dig deeper into Ethan's social media trail. Each new post painted a clearer picture of betrayal that went beyond simple absence. This wasn't a man struggling to cope with his wife's illness. This was a man celebrating his freedom from her. His Instagram stories showed a timeline of calculated cruelty. At 4 p.m., when Dr. Thompson had been explaining Lily's treatment options to me, Ethan was posing with a magnum of champagne. At 5:30, while I'd been holding my daughter's thin hand. He'd been photographed with his arm around a blonde woman young enough to be his daughter. But it was the videos that really showed his character. In one filmed just an hour ago, Ethan raised a glass to the camera and said, "To freedom, to new beginnings, and to finally living my best life." The audio was clear, his words unmistakable, his joy genuine, while his wife fought cancer alone in a hospital bed. I saved every piece of evidence to my phone, my engineering background automatically organizing files and timestamps. If this ever went legal, I wanted documentation, but more immediately, I wanted ammunition. My phone rang as the subway pulled into downtown station. Ryan, again. I did some more digging. Your son-in-law has been planning this party for 4 weeks. Reserved the venue. Hired a photographer, sent invitations through social media. This isn't spontaneous. It's premeditated. 4 weeks. Right around the time Lily was admitted to the hospital, while she was being told her cancer had metastasized. Ethan was booking party venues. There's more, Ryan continued. His credit card records show a pattern. High-end restaurants, expensive clothing purchases, jewelry that sure isn't going to his wife. This has been going on since her diagnosis. Since her diagnosis, 8 weeks of treating Lily's terminal illness as his personal liberation. Ryan, I need to ask you something, and I need an honest answer. Shoot. If this was your daughter, what would you do? A long pause. Probably something that would disappoint my better angels, but satisfy my father's heart, which is exactly why I think you should wait. Think this through. I have thought it through. He's not just abandoning her. He's celebrating it while she's dying. And what's your plan? Storm into his party and do what exactly I emerged from the subway into the chaos of downtown San Francisco. Neon signs blazed around me. Crowds of people heading to dinner reservations and weekend entertainment. The city that never sleeps, full of people living their lives while mine fell apart. I'm going to give him some news. I said, bad news. Micah, thanks for the help. Ryan, I'll call you later. I hung up before he could argue further. This wasn't about reason anymore. This was about justice. And justice sometimes required public embarrassment for private cruelties. Bayview Rooftop Lounge occupied the roof of a glass building in the heart of downtown. Through the windows, I could see people in expensive clothes, holding expensive drinks, celebrating whatever rich people celebrated on Friday nights. Music pulsed from the upper floors, and I could make out laughter even from the street. The elevator to the roof required a key card, but the security guard was more helpful than I'd expected. Family emergency, I explained, showing him my driver's license. I need to reach my son-in-law, Ethan Blackwell. There's been a medical crisis. The guard looked at my tired face, my rumpled traveling clothes, my obvious distress, and made a human decision. Rooftop level. But sir, try to keep it discreet. This is an upscale establishment. I'll do my best. The elevator rose 35 floors while I composed myself through the glass walls. San Francisco spread out below, like a circuit board of lights and possibilities. Somewhere in this maze of buildings, my daughter lay in a hospital bed, alone except for nurses and machines. Somewhere above me, her husband celebrated his freedom from her suffering. The elevator doors opened onto a rooftop paradise. Bayview Rooftop Lounge lived up to its name. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the San Francisco skyline in all directions, while an outdoor deck offered fresh air and stunning views. Well-dressed people clustered around high-top tables. A DJ provided background music, and servers circulated with champagne and appetizers. It took me less than 30 seconds to spot Ethan. He'd gained weight since the last family gathering, his face full and satisfied, his expensive suit tailored to his new prosperity. He stood near the outdoor deck, holding court with a group of admirers, 3 young women and 2 men his age, all hanging on his every word. As I watched, he threw his head back and laughed at something someone said. Pure, genuine enjoyment. The laugh of a man without a care in the world. I started walking toward him, my steps steady and purposeful. The crowd parted automatically. Maybe it was my age, maybe my expression, maybe the way I moved with complete focus through their casual celebration. People noticed me, then looked toward Ethan to see what was about to happen. He saw me when I was still 10 feet away. The laughter died in his throat. Color drained from his face, and his champagne glass trembled in his hand. He looked around desperately, as if searching for an escape route, but his friends had formed a semicircle that trapped him against the deck railing. "Hello, Ethan?" My voice carried clearly over the music. Several nearby conversations stopped, people sensing drama about to unfold. Micah, what are you doing here? How did you find me? Your wife told me you were having a difficult time processing her illness, that you needed space to handle the emotional burden of her cancer diagnosis. I spoke loudly enough for his friends to hear every word. Imagine my surprise to discover this is how you handle emotional burdens. One of the young women looked confused. Cancer, Ethan. You never mentioned. It's complicated, Ethan stammered, his eyes darting between me and his audience. Family medical issues. Very private. Not something you discuss at social events. Private. I stepped closer, and Ethan actually backed up against the railing. Your wife has been in the hospital for 3 weeks. Ethan, terminal pancreatic cancer, stage 4. She's been asking about you, wondering why you haven't visited. The second woman put down her drink. The man exchanged uncomfortable glances. The party atmosphere around us had shifted to awkward tension. While she's been undergoing treatment, fighting for her life. You've been here spending thousands of dollars celebrating your freedom. I have the pictures. Ethan, the credit card records, the social media posts about your new beginning. You don't understand the situation. I understand perfectly. My voice was calm, controlled, but it cut through his protestations like a blade. You abandoned your dying wife to throw yourself a birthday party with other women, using money that should pay for her treatment. The silence around us was complete now. Even the music seemed quieter. Ethan's friends were staring at him with expressions ranging from disgust to horror. I came here to give you some news. Ethan, bad news, I'm afraid. In 1 hour, something very unpleasant is going to happen to you. I won't tell you what, but I guarantee you won't enjoy it. What do you mean? Micah, what are you talking about? But I was already walking away. My message delivered. My purpose served. Behind me. I heard Ethan calling my name. Heard his friends asking questions he couldn't answer. Heard the party's energy collapse into uncomfortable whispers. The elevator doors closed on Ethan's panicked face, his birthday celebration in ruins around him. 1 hour, I told him. Now the clock was ticking. The elevator descended through the glass building while San Francisco sparkled outside like scattered diamonds. I checked my watch. 8:45 p.m. The medical procedures at the hospital would be finished by now. And Lily would be wondering where I'd gone. But first, I had one more stop to make. During the subway ride back to the hospital, my phone buzzed with increasingly frantic calls from Ethan. I let them all go to voicemail. Each unanswered ring was part of the punishment. Uncertainty, fear, the growing realization that his comfortable world was about to change. By the time I reached UCSF, Ethan had left 6 voicemails. I listened to them in the hospital lobby, watching his panic escalate with each message. Micah, please call me back. We need to talk about this misunderstanding. Look, I know how this looks, but you don't understand the full situation. Lily agreed. This is harassment. You can't threaten people and walk away. I'm calling the police. Micah, please. Whatever you're planning. We can work this out. I'll do whatever you want. I'm begging you. Please don't destroy my life over this. The progression from arrogance to desperation was exactly what I'd hoped for. Ethan had spent 8 weeks thinking he could abandon his responsibilities without consequences. Now he was learning differently. Doctor. Thompson met me outside Lily's room. The procedures went well. Her pain levels should be more manageable now. She's been asking for you. How is she tired? but the medications are helping. You can see her now, but try to keep the visit calm. She needs rest. I entered room 314 to find Lily looking smaller than before. If that was possible. The medical procedures had exhausted her, but her eyes still held that fierce intelligence I remembered from her childhood. "Where did you go?" she asked weakly. "The nurse said you stepped out, but you were gone for hours." "I had some errands to run. Nothing important." The lie came easily. Protecting her from the truth about Ethan's party would spare her additional pain. "Dad, I know you're angry about Ethan not being here, but please don't do anything dramatic. I can't handle family drama on top of everything else." If only she knew what family drama really looked like. But that was exactly why I'd handled this quietly. Lily deserved to focus on fighting cancer, not on mourning her marriage. My phone rang. Ethan again. This time I answered. "Micah, thank you for picking up. Please, we need to meet and discuss. The hour isn't up yet." "Ethan." I kept my voice calm, controlled. "When it is, you'll know." "What are you talking about? What's going to happen in an hour?" "Something you won't enjoy. I guarantee it." I hung up. Lily was watching me with concern. "Dad, what was that about nothing you need to worry about?" "Honey, just some business I need to handle." But even as I said it, I was checking the time. 9:20 p.m. 40 minutes since I'd left the party. 20 minutes until Ethan's deadline. My phone rang again immediately. This time, instead of answering, I turned it off completely. Ethan could spend the next 20 minutes in growing panic, wondering what consequences were coming for him. The uncertainty would be worse than any actual punishment I could devise. "You look different," Lily said quietly. "Calmer somehow. More like yourself." She was right. The helpless grief I'd felt earlier had transformed into something more productive. I'd taken action, imposed consequences, restored some balance to a situation that had been grossly unfair. For the first time since arriving in San Francisco, I felt like I was protecting my daughter properly. "I'm just glad I'm here with you now. Will you stay tonight?" "I know the hospital has visitor accommodations." "Of course. I'm not going anywhere." As we talked about treatment options and next steps, part of my mind tracked the remaining time. 15 minutes until Ethan's deadline. By now, he'd probably tried calling the hospital directly, maybe even attempted to come here himself. But I'd spoken to security about limiting his access. Family emergency protocols gave me temporary authority over visitors. At 9:50 p.m., I excused myself to use the restroom and turned my phone back on. 23 missed calls from Ethan and a dozen text messages ranging from angry demands to desperate pleas. The final message sent just 5 minutes ago read, "Please, Micah, I'll do anything. I'll pay for all of Lily treatment. I'll give her everything in the divorce. Just tell me what you want." Divorce interesting. Ethan was already planning his exit strategy, thinking he could buy his way out of responsibility with financial settlements. But some things couldn't be purchased or negotiated. At exactly 10 p.m., I called him back. "Micah, thank you for calling. Look, I've been thinking about everything you said. And you're absolutely right. I've handled this situation poorly. But I can fix it. I can make amends. The hour's up. Ethan." "What? What does that mean? What's going to happen?" I looked around the hospital corridor. The quiet efficiency of the night shift. The families maintaining vigil over their loved ones. The basic human decency of people caring for each other during crisis. Nothing is going to happen. Ethan, that was the point. I don't understand. For the last hour, you've experienced what your wife has felt for 8 weeks. Uncertainty, fear, abandonment by someone who should be there for you. The difference is, your hour of anxiety is over. Hers isn't. Silence on the other end of the line. You want to know what's going to happen to you. You're going to live with the knowledge that when your wife needed you most, you abandoned her for a party. You're going to remember that when she was fighting for her life, you were celebrating your freedom. And everyone at that party tonight is going to remember it, too. Micah, please. I'm hanging up now. Don't call again. Don't come to the hospital. Don't contact Lily unless she specifically asks for you. And Ethan, if I hear you're using her illness as an excuse for anything, if you're telling people you're grieving or struggling or any other lie to cover your selfishness, I will make sure everyone knows the truth about your birthday party. I ended the call and turned the phone off again. Through the hospital window, I could see the lights of San Francisco stretching toward the horizon, somewhere in that maze of buildings. Ethan was probably sitting alone, finally understanding that actions had consequences. But here, in this sterile corridor outside my daughter's room, justice felt more like exhaustion than satisfaction. The real work, helping Lily fight cancer, was just beginning. San Francisco's neon glow painted the sidewalks in shifting colors as I walked away from Bayview Rooftop Lounge. The confrontation had left me feeling oddly calm. Not the explosive satisfaction I might have expected, but something steadier. Justice in motion. Consequences finally matching actions. My phone showed 9:05 p.m. Hospital visiting hours extended until 10 p.m. for family members, giving me time for one essential stop. Lily would need proper nutrition during her recovery, and the hospital cafeteria wasn't adequate for someone fighting cancer. The Whole Foods near the medical district stayed open late, catering to hospital staff and worried families. Inside, fluorescent lighting felt harsh after the upscale ambiance of the rooftop bar, but it was honest light. No pretense, no performance. Just people buying what they needed to take care of each other. I selected carefully organic fruits that wouldn't upset Lily's sensitive stomach, fresh ginger for nausea, the kind of Greek yogurt she'd loved as a child. Simple things that might remind her body how to be healthy again. Shopping for someone recovering? The cashier asked. She was maybe 25 with kind eyes that suggested she'd seen plenty of worried families. My daughter cancer treatment. I'm sorry. Is she doing better getting there? The words felt true as I said them. Lily was getting better. Not just medically, but in ways that mattered more. She wasn't alone anymore. Wasn't protecting everyone else from her truth. These are good choices, she said, scanning the ginger. My aunt swore by fresh ginger tea during her chemo. The receipt showed 9:23 p.m., enough time to reach the hospital before visiting hours ended. In the taxi back to UCSF, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Package delivery scheduled for 10:15 p.m. Address confirmed. SM Agent Megan Foster, Sophia's former partner at the FBI, now heading the Financial Crimes Unit. She'd been more than willing to help when I'd explained Ethan's situation, especially after seeing the evidence Ryan had gathered about offshore accounts and tax evasion. The hospital lobby felt different at night, quieter, more intimate somehow. Families gathered in waiting areas, some sleeping in uncomfortable chairs, others maintaining vigil with coffee and quiet conversation. People who understood that love meant showing up when life got difficult. Room 314 glowed softly with evening light. Lily looked better than she had this morning. The medical procedures had helped, and her color was improving slightly. She was awake, reading something on her tablet, looking almost like herself again. You brought groceries. She smiled at the bag in my hands. Dad, the hospital feeds me. You don't need to shop. Hospital food isn't going to help you get strong enough to fight this thing. I started unpacking items, arranging them on her bedside table like a small altar to her recovery. Besides, I remembered how much you loved this yogurt when you were little. Greek god's brand. Her voice carried genuine pleasure. I haven't had this in years. Sometimes the old things are the best things. She studied my face with that perceptive look she'd inherited from her mother. You seem different tonight. Calmer, somehow less frantic. I had some business to take care of. It went well. What kind of business? My phone vibrated again. Another text. Target acquired. Timeline confirmed. Proceeding as planned. Nothing you need to worry about, I said, silencing the phone. Just some loose ends that needed handling. But Lily wasn't fooled. She'd always been able to read me better than I'd liked, even as a child. Dad, what did you do about Ethan? What makes you think I did anything? Because you're you. Because when someone hurts your family, you fix it. Because you disappeared for 3 hours this evening and came back looking like justice had been served. Smart girl. Too smart for her own good sometimes. I had a conversation with your husband. He won't be bothering you anymore. What kind of conversation? The kind where he learned that actions have consequences. The kind where he discovered that abandoning his wife has a price. She was quiet for a moment, processing this. Outside her window, San Francisco continued its endless pulse of life and ambition. Somewhere in that maze of lights, Ethan was probably trying to call me again, still not understanding that his hour of reckoning had only just begun. I should probably be upset that you confronted him, Lily said finally. But I'm not. I'm tired of protecting people who don't protect me back. You don't need to protect anyone anymore. Honey, that's my job now. My phone buzzed a third time. I glanced at it quickly. Warrant executed. Evidence secured. Full report follows. Excellent work. Agent Foster was thorough. She'd waited until she had everything she needed before moving. Ethan's evening was about to get much worse than a ruined party. Dad. Lily's voice was gentle but direct. Are you going to tell me what that phone is really about before I could answer? The device rang in my hands. Ethan's name appeared on the screen, and in the background, I could hear voices, official-sounding commands, the unmistakable sounds of law enforcement activity. I looked at my daughter lying in her hospital bed, finally safe from the man who should have protected her. Then I answered the call. Micah, please, you have to help me. Ethan's voice cracked through the phone, panic evident in every syllable. Behind him, I could hear official voices giving commands, the sound of doors opening, heavy footsteps on hardwood floors. I'm sorry, I can't hear you very clearly, I said calmly, putting the phone on speaker so Lily could listen. There seems to be some kind of commotion in the background. It's the FBI. They're in my apartment right now going through everything. They have a search warrant. Micah, what did you do? I didn't do anything. Ethan, but I suspect they might be interested in your financial arrangements. Something about tax evasion, maybe offshore accounts. Dead silence, except for the sounds of a systematic search in progress. I could picture Ethan's face, the color draining as he realized the scope of what was happening. How do you know about... He stopped himself, but it was too late. About the accounts in the Caymans, the ones where you've been hiding money for 3 years, the same money that could have paid for your wife's medical treatment. My voice remained steady, conversational. Or did you mean the consulting fees you never reported? The ones that pushed your tax evasion into felony territory? Agent Foster's voice came clearly through the phone. Mr. Blackwell, you need to step away from the safe and keep your hands visible. Micah, please. I know we have our differences, but I'm family. You can't just family. The word tasted bitter. Family means being there when someone needs you. Family means holding their hand during chemotherapy, not celebrating your freedom while they fight for their life. Lily was watching me with wide eyes, understanding finally dawning about the full scope of what I'd orchestrated. Her expression wasn't shock. It was something closer to awe. I can explain everything, Ethan continued desperately. The money, the accounts, all of it. I was planning to use it for Lily's treatment. I swear I just needed to. You needed to what? Throw yourself a birthday party first. Bring other women to her apartment while she was in the hospital. Another voice in the background, professional and clear. Sir, we're going to need you to come with us for questioning. You have the right to remain silent. Micah, don't let them do this to me. I'm your daughter's husband. Think about what this will do to her reputation, her standing in the community. I looked at Lily lying in her hospital bed, thin and pale, but with fire in her eyes. She'd been protecting this man's reputation while he spent her, medical money on champagne and parties. My daughter's standing in the community will be just fine, I said. She's a cancer survivor who was abandoned by her husband. People tend to sympathize with that kind of strength. You, on the other hand, are a man who hid assets while his wife faced terminal illness. How do you think that's going to play in the newspapers? The newspapers, you can't be serious. Financial crimes involving federal tax evasion. A Wall Street executive caught hiding millions while his wife battled cancer. Ethan, this is exactly the kind of story the press loves. The sounds of official activity continued in the background. I could hear evidence bags being sealed, digital devices being collected. The methodical process of building a case that would end Ethan's career and freedom. Agent Foster is very thorough. I continued conversationally. She worked with my late wife for years, learned a lot about following financial trails, building airtight cases. She was particularly interested when I mentioned your situation. Your wife worked with the FBI for 23 years, Financial Crimes Unit. She had a lot of friends who were concerned when they heard about how you were treating her daughter. The full realization was hitting him now. This wasn't just about personal revenge. This was about professional law enforcement officers who took white-collar crimes seriously, especially when it involved abandoning sick family members. Micah, I'm begging you, call them off. I'll pay for everything. All of Lily's treatment, experimental therapies, whatever she needs. I'll liquidate the offshore accounts, pay all the back taxes. Just make this stop. That's an interesting offer. Ethan, unfortunately, once the FBI has evidence of federal crimes, individual citizens like me can't really call them off. That's not how the justice system works. Agent Foster's voice again. Mr. Blackwell, we're ready to transport you downtown for processing. Processing. What does that mean? It means you're going to jail. Ethan. Tonight. While your wife is in a cancer ward, you'll be in a holding cell. I find that appropriately symbolic. This is insane. You can't destroy my life because you don't like how I handled my marriage. I didn't destroy your life, I said quietly. You destroyed your life the moment you chose to celebrate your wife's illness instead of supporting her through it. I just made sure there were consequences. The phone line went quiet except for footsteps and official voices. Then Agent Foster came on the line. "Mr. Remington, this is Agent Foster. Mr. Blackwell has been taken into custody. The evidence collection is complete. We found more than enough to proceed with federal charges." "Thank you, Agent Foster. I appreciate your thoroughness. Your wife trained me well. She'd have been proud to see justice served for her daughter." I hung up and looked at Lily. She was sitting up in bed now, more alert than I'd seen her all day. "Dad, was that real? Did you really just have Ethan arrested by the FBI?" I provided information about financial crimes to appropriate authorities. They made their own decisions about how to proceed. "But how did you know about the offshore accounts? Ryan Caldwell is very good at his job. And your mother's former colleagues were very motivated to help when they understood the situation." Lily was quiet for a long moment, processing what had just happened. Then, unexpectedly, she started laughing. Not the bitter laugh of someone who'd been betrayed, but genuine amusement at the elegant justice of it all. "He called you for help," she said between laughs. "The man who abandoned me called my father for help when the consequences caught up to him." "Some people never learn that actions have consequences," I said, "but they usually figure it out eventually." Afternoon light streamed through the windows of Lily's small apartment in Alameda, illuminating canvases propped against the walls and art supplies scattered across a makeshift studio table. She moved around the kitchen with energy I hadn't seen since before her diagnosis, preparing lunch with the focused enthusiasm of someone who'd learned not to take simple pleasures for granted. "The oncologist says, my latest scans are completely clear," she called over her shoulder as she sliced vegetables. 7 months without any trace of cancer cells. "That's wonderful news." I sat at her kitchen table watching my daughter inhabit her life again. Really inhabit it. Not just survive it. "Doctor Thompson must be pleased. She says I'm one of her success stories. The experimental treatment protocol worked better than anyone expected." Lily paused in her preparations, looking thoughtful. "Of course. Having the financial stress removed probably helped my immune system focus on fighting cancer instead of fighting anxiety." Ethan's asset forfeit had covered all her medical expenses and then some. The federal courts had been efficient in seizing his hidden accounts, and victim restitution had been prioritized. Justice, it turned out, sometimes came with practical benefits. "Have you heard anything about his appeal?" I asked. "His lawyer called last month. Ethan wants to reduce his sentence by cooperating with other financial crime investigations. Apparently, he knows about a lot of Wall Street corruption." She resumed chopping, her movements precise and confident. "I told the prosecutor I had no opinion on whether he deserved consideration. And how do you feel about that, honestly? I don't think about him much anymore. When someone shows you who they really are during the worst crisis of your life, you stop wondering what might have been different." This version of Lily was stronger than the one I'd found in the hospital a year ago. Not just physically, but in ways that mattered more. She'd learned that she could survive betrayal, illness, and uncertainty. That knowledge had made her fearless about smaller things. "Agent Foster stopped by last week," she continued. "She wanted to see how I was doing and to tell me about some financial literacy workshops the FBI runs for fraud victims. She thinks I might be good at helping other people who've been exploited by family members. Would you be interested in that, maybe? There's something appealing about turning a terrible experience into something that helps others." She brought plates to the table and sat across from me. "Speaking of Agent Foster, she mentioned something interesting about Mom." "Oh." She said Mom always talked about how proud she was that her husband understood justice wasn't the same thing as revenge. That you always looked for solutions that fixed problems rather than just punishing people. I thought about that night in the hospital, listening to Ethan panic as his world collapsed. There had been satisfaction in that moment, but not the bitter kind that comes from personal vengeance. It had been the satisfaction of watching systems work correctly, law enforcement catching criminals, consequences matching actions, protection being provided it for the vulnerable. Your mother was the one who taught me that distinction. I said, she used to say that revenge makes you feel better for a moment, but justice makes the world better permanently. Did you ever want revenge, just pure personal revenge? In the taxi to Bayview Rooftop Lounge. Yes, I wanted to humiliate him, make him suffer the way you'd suffered. But by the time I got there, I realized that wouldn't actually help you or change anything fundamental. So you chose the harder path. I chose the path that solved the problem. Ethan wasn't just abandoning you. He was committing federal crimes and would likely do both things again with someone else. Getting him arrested protected you and protected his future victims. Lily nodded, understanding, and it made sure his money went to my medical care instead of his entertainment. That was a bonus, not the primary goal. We ate in comfortable silence for a while, the kind of quiet that comes from deep familiarity and mutual respect. Through her window, I could see neighbors going about their afternoon routines, walking dogs, carrying groceries, living normal lives that weren't defined by crisis or betrayal. I've been thinking about dating again, Lily said suddenly. How do you feel about that? Nervous, but good nervous, like I'm ready to trust my judgment about people again. She smiled. Having a father who's willing to coordinate with federal law enforcement makes me feel pretty confident about my safety. I'm retired from the coordinating business. Once was enough. Sure you are. Her tone was teasing but affectionate. Just promise me you'll do background checks quietly if I bring someone home. I make no such promises. She laughed, and the sound was pure joy. Not the careful laughter of someone managing other people's comfort, but the genuine amusement of someone who felt safe enough to be fully herself. Later, as I prepared to catch the train back to Arizona, I looked around her apartment one more time. Art projects in various stages of completion. Medical appointment reminders that showed routine checkups rather than crisis management. Photos of friends and family gathered during her recovery. This is a good life you're building, I told her. It's my life, she said simply. For the first time in years, it feels like mine, standing at her door, travel bag in hand. I realized that this was what justice actually looked like. Not dramatic courtroom moments or satisfying revenge, but a woman making lunch in her own kitchen, planning art projects, considering new relationships, living without fear or financial anxiety. I'll see you next week, I said. Drive safely, Dad. And thank you for showing me that family means protecting each other, for proving that some people can be trusted to do the right thing, even when it's complicated. Walking toward the subway station in the late afternoon light, I thought about Sophia and how proud she'd be of both our daughter's strength and the way justice had ultimately prevailed. Not through anger or personal vendetta, but through patience, careful planning, and faith that systems could work when operated by people who cared about doing the right thing. My phone buzzed with a text from Lily. Forgot to tell you. I'm thinking about getting a dog, just so you know, for next time you coordinate with law enforcement. Some things, thankfully, never change. What did you think of this story's twist on justice and family? Did it make you reflect on your own experiences with betrayal or resilience? Share your impressions in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts and exchange ideas together. Your questions could spark even more engaging discussions here on the channel. If you enjoyed this tale of redemption and clever consequences, please like the video and subscribe for more captivating narratives. Your support means everything to us. Interact with the community by commenting your favorite part or asking for similar stories. To dive into the next thrilling story, just click the box on the left. Thank you so much for joining us today. Your time and engagement inspire us to keep storytelling alive. See you soon.